Hey folks, I'm Red Monster SC, and in this video, I'm going to walk you through how to use Regolith.rocks, one of the coolest tools available to help you manage your mining sessions. Regolith.rocks is an online tool to help people mine, organize, share, and scout together. It was developed by Ray Chaser, a talented member of the United Earth Mining Corporation, who I've partnered with in the past for supporting tables and calculations that have been used in this tool, and I'm excited to continue that partnership as I adopt Regolith into my own mining events. It includes ship loadout calculators, work order tracking, rock mass and value estimates, market price calculators, and even a mining session manager where you can share information live between multiple players. I'll start by demonstrating the individual tools here, and then I'll tie it all together with the mining session interface. You access the tool by going to Regolith.rocks in your web browser. Once there, you'll see a list of calculators, which include the work order, rock cluster calculator, ship loadouts, market prices, as well as data tables, which include the refinery methods, refining bonuses, market prices, mining lasers, modules, and gadgets. There's also the About list, which includes how to get support for the tool, as well as submit feedback. You can authenticate with either Discord or Google, and both options are pretty quick to implement. And of course, the permissions it requires are very minimal. Once you're signed in, you can go into your user profile and set up some preferences. So let's do that. You can start off by adding usernames of friends that you commonly mine with to make them easier to add into your sessions, and also set up your session defaults. This includes your preferred mining vehicle with a list of common mining vehicles available, as well as the preferred delivery vehicle, which is your typical cargo haulers, just for helpful tools there. You can also select a default gravity well and location type. These are blank by default. You can leave them open. In addition, you can set the default activity type between ship mining, rock or hand mining, or salvage. I like ship mining primarily. And of course, the crew share defaults, I've got a couple populated. We'll go ahead and add a few of these. I like to run with a security team, and we will set a default percentage of 10%, and then we will add in a surveyor as well. I usually offer up a 15% finder's fee, so that surveyor will be paid out there, and this will just auto-populate when we get a list. Go ahead and save those preferences. You can also set some defaults for the refinery and ore options when a order is placed, and set your default refinery as well as your default refining method. You can also add default ore rows that when you're placing a refinery order, they will auto-populate, giving you the option to enter data in each row. And we'll go ahead and head back to our calculator. Starting off with the work order calculator. This is a standalone one-time entry. When placing a work order, you can select the materials that you are placing into the order by clicking the name up here. There will be a row added for each. Some of those settings carrying over from the previous options. Adding in the material here in the work order yield will auto-populate and update the sell price estimate as well as the best location you can get those sold at. We see the MO trader fees, and because we've got our defaults here, we already have a finder's fee and security. I'm going to go ahead and clear those out for the current order, and we'll go ahead and add in the time remaining on that refinery order so that we can see when it's done. One note that this is a standalone calculator. If you're planning on running multiple mining sessions, it's a good option to go and use the Sessions tool, which I will cover a little bit later on. And a note about the shares, there are flat rates, percentages, or equal shares that you can select from the shares. In the cluster calculator, you can choose both a ship cluster, rock or hand mining, or a salvage cluster. If you're doing a ship cluster, you can add multiple rocks. For each rock that you add, you want to update the mass. Plug in a couple of numbers here, as well as the composition, so the different materials that make up that rock, entering in the percentages you find on those rocks before you break them, and this will help as we update, automatically calculate the total SCU that's available in that rock, as well as the estimated price. We'll see that update on the top right. Once everything's entered, go ahead and save that rock into the system, and here we have our update. We can add additional rocks, plugging in the numbers there, mass, and whatever additional composition percentages we've got. And save out each rock when you're complete. And we see both rocks side by side. We can add additional rocks that will continue to populate that cluster. There's up to 20 by default on some, but just scrolling within that window. In the ship loadout calculator, this actually helps you determine what your preferred mining laser is, both for a prospector and a mole. I'll go ahead and set up my favorite prospector loadout. We'll start by selecting the Hofstede size 1 laser and the Rieger C3 module. And we'll, of course, carry around a waveshift gadget with us. This will update based on whether or not the gadget is active, and you see those bonuses and drawbacks calculated on the fly. You can also save these loadouts, give them names, and be able to share them quickly. I've got a couple saved here, including Mole and Prospector. Again, being able to toggle on and off the active modules as well as the gadgets. And if you want to share this, you can hit this button up here. It will generate a screenshot in a PNG format that you can download and copy out to Discord or your friends. We also have the lasers, which include my initial table, and the modules with all of the bonuses and the location where you can purchase the specific modules, filtering through either active, passive, or gadgets based on these toggles here. You can see the different locations that these are available from, and a little bit of scrolling within that window gets you across to the details you need. Now, the market price calculator, when you are ready to take your order to sell, you just place the materials, what you are transporting to sell, including the SCU amount, and it will automatically give you the best location to deliver those materials to based on the current prices. This is updating between UAX Corp, but again, these values are subject to change. They're very dynamic within the current economy. You see several locations with a varying amount of payout. You can also select the ship that you're going to be using for that delivery. This is your mid-video reminder to like and subscribe if you're finding this video helpful. Now we're loading into the Sessions tool. This is where all of these pieces come together. You can see that they're active or expired sessions. We're going to go ahead and create a new one to demonstrate for this. So we're going to start by setting up our default settings. You can manually add usernames in here or invite others to join with a link here. I'm going to go ahead and add in a couple of friends. And going in to set up the defaults, this carries over my security and finder's fee defaults that I had set up in my personal preferences. I'll go ahead and leave those in. And then we can set the default location. For this mining session, why not go to Sell-In? There we go. And we will set this as surface mining at Sell-In. And you can change the session name here. And we're going to default a couple of those tier 1 materials that will auto-populate. So the dashboard, we're going to go ahead and start adding in rocks. So you have your surveyors out there finding rock clusters. This is the tool they want to be most familiar with. We create a cluster with 3 rocks in it. We're going to apply some materials to that. Again, similar to the cluster calculator we saw individually, throwing in a couple of numbers on the aluminum, agricium, and terranite, because why not? And one thing to make sure of is that you are also updating the mass. Almost forgot that one here. That will update the value of the rock as well as the total SCU. And I'll go ahead and speed through the additional rocks being added through this cluster. So once the cluster is ready to go, we have 3 rocks. We can set a status. By default, it is discovered. There's need workers, working, abandoned, or depleted. Those are additional options. We'll set it as discovered. And then once saved, this will populate in the list of scouting reports that anyone can open up review what rocks are available, and decide if they want to claim, head on route. We'll go ahead and set this as that red is here. You can also share that, and you can mark it as departed, abandon, or reset all of those. Let's go ahead and close this out, and populating an additional cluster, just the same. If you have multiple scouts submitting these, they will have their names attached to each report. And go ahead, if you find rocks that are low value, you can mark those as ignored, and those values and those new scouting reports will appear on the list. If you decide you don't want to stick around for it, you can set it working, depleted. Updating the status there just communicates to the rest of the crew what you've done with that rock. So you can go ahead and close it out. And now when it's time to head back to the refinery, similar to the refinery orders, we're going to go ahead and populate some values from that rock that we just mined. Pull in some gold, hephaestonite, and aluminum, entering the values in the yield, speeding through that for you. Auto-populates the refinery order as well as the time remaining on that refinery order so that you know when it's complete and you can go pick it up. I have my finder's fee and my security, and let's say I've got a friend here who helped me with the break. Go ahead and plug in those numbers, and I'm going to set a percentage share here, 10%, and of course include one other share member. Let's say Soulbite came out and helped us break, but we want to pay him a flat fee. Go ahead and add that flat rate and edit on this field to give him 20,000 credits is a kind of standard break fee for my crew. So get that all added and go ahead and create. And there we have our work order first up there showing the number of splits and who's paid. We can see the gross earnings. For the summary, this includes all of the statistics for everyone in this session. So we see 5 rocks inside 2 clusters. I've got a couple of people that I owe. I want to mark that Soulbite is paid off, but oh, look at this. We owe Prometheus quite a bit of money, and that looks like it was a problem with my entry. Let's go back and fix that. Now, I've entered Prometheus here as having a full share, but I gave myself the 10%, so that's one to watch out for. You can go through and edit after the fact, which is nice. So I'll go and correct that, give myself the split, and Prometheus gets his 10% security fee. Thanks for keeping us safe out there. Closing this and back to the summary tab, I owe Prometheus 13,210, and that's much more reasonable for a security fee. One other factor that can be really helpful is grouping into crews. So this will automatically populate some fields and help people keep track of who's flying with who. So to do that, you click on the ellipsis here and add to my crew. And now Soulbite shows up underneath that crew, and I can also include, let's bring in Roy. You can add and remove if we wanted to bring in Ray Chaser, but he decides to go and run off on his own. One of the main benefits here is that when you go and add in a work order, those crew members are automatically added into an equal share split when you place that refinery order. And one additional feature, if you are working in a crew but you're not the person that's going to be selling the order, you can select this alternate seller option. So if you are not the seller, you can choose who would actually be getting the money for it. Selecting them, and then when we place our refinery order, Soulbite would be the one that would owe out. So just as an example, let's say we got 19 SCU of Quantanium. Create this order, 10 hours, 10 minutes. And then in the summary, now Soulbite is the person who owes those fees. Now, these sessions remain active until you've reached 12 hours of inactivity. You can go back through and look at past sessions if you want to see scouting reports, if you want to see who's owed who. Again, all the rocks that are available here. Looking at the reports, who found what materials, and kind of the rock sizes you might have been finding at those locations. You can see the session members on that side, each of the refinery orders that was placed with the group. These are just some examples from my most recent Sunday morning mining session. As you can see, we put away quite a bit of material, 4.2 million mined and 688 SCU total between all of the refinery orders that we placed. And in that summary, we can see who owes who, various crew shares and splits. The gross earnings, again, raw ore, work orders created, and we can look at all the different transactions between the group members. And as you might have guessed, this isn't just useful for mining. You can do rock or hand mining as well as salvage. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in a salvage session for our current demo, and placing that order of the number of construction material SCU. We'll enter there, as well as our recycled material composite, plugging in those numbers. Auto-populates with the sell price at the best, most profitable location. I'll pull out the security and surveyors, and then add all the various crew members, and it defaults to an equal split, which is great. We had a pretty successful salvaging operation in my mind. We'll go ahead and create that order. And similar to the mining sessions, you can go look at the summary tab, and it shows how much you owe each crew member. And don't forget to visit the About section. That's going to include some of the general information, the thank yous and callouts, myself and the United Earth Mining Corporation, the FAQs, and the Discord server. It's the best place to get support if you have questions or want to suggest a feature. And make sure to throw a Ko-fi or a Patreon subscription over to Raychaser, who developed this tool, kept it entirely ad-free. So go ahead and drop him some support. And of course, here are the release notes for any updates that happen to the system, including bug fixes and new features that are being released. And there you have it, a detailed look at how to use the Regolith.rocks system for your next mining or salvage operation. I've been really impressed with not only the site, but also the amount of support that Raychaser is giving it. Hopefully you'll pick it up for your next mining session. You can connect with me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Discord, and Patreon using the link in the description. Thank you to my patrons for your ongoing support, funding channel giveaways, and other perks for the Red Legion community. And finally, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, because Regolith.rocks is a fantastic tool for any serious mining or salvage crew, and now you know how to use it.